Hi everyone, this is Radull live. Thanks for joining us today. I hope we have a very fruitful discussion about football in Kenya. I am with the chairman of Leagues and Clubs Competition Committee of the Football Kenya. Okay, he'll tell me what it's called. Ali Amour, habari yako?
Nzuri, thank you for having me.
Ali, what's the correct name of the committee?
FKF Caretaker Committee.
FKF Caretaker Committee, yeah? I'm hoping today that we're going to get some insight into exactly what the committee is doing and what you hope to achieve. But just to set the stage, Ali, I've known you forever and a day, I think 15 years. We've had like 20 plus conversations about Kenyan football, how to improve things. But unfortunately, progress has been so slow. But to begin with, tell us about your background in Kenyan football.
Thank you, Kenya. As you know, my name's Ali Amour, born and bred in Mombasa, in the island. Started playing football from primary school, secondary school. Then I went to A-levels in Kisii, that is Iterio. When Iterio was Iterio, when they are giants. At that time when Shabana was Shabana, you see. And at the university, then came back home, worked a bit in the Middle East, you see, and worked in Coca-Cola for some time. And Philip Morris International, and I'm here back again in the same football saga, which I call it the snail progress in our soccer.
But just to set the stage for your football involvement, you've been quite heavily involved in football in Mombasa.
Yeah,
especially. I
remember. I mean, if we can recall well, I was the Secretary General for Costas for quite some times, and we actually initiated KPL. You see, when that time the clubs were not very much satisfied with the federation, and that is during the time of the late Hatimi. May Allah rest his soul in peace. You see, then and it was very simple formula. The first number one club will be the chairman, the number two will be the second chairman. Then we agreed to form a CEO, and that's how Jack Oguda came in. You see, and KPL started growing very well in football, and we started seeing traction because at that time, at least KPL put a structure, you see, in itself, you see. And when they put the structure, you find the first traction they got was Super Sports, which tells you now when you have structures, a sponsor is attracted. Then after that, then things have changed because I was out of football for some time, and I was just watching from far, and I'm seeing things have changed, and we went back to the same snail again, which is unfortunate, especially for our talent below.
So just for people to understand, you have been involved in planning, management of football at some level in this country. Now you're in the Football Kenya Welfare, sorry. I don't know why I keep forgetting the name.
FKF Caretaker.
FKF Caretaker Committee.
Yeah.
What is your role now as Chairman's Leagues and Clubs Competition?
My role is just to plan fixtures, ensure all the teams across the board, they honor their matches, proper venues, and actually even digitalize these fixtures because we've been so much in the analog world, and we keep on forgetting that the world is transforming, it has changed. So, and to make improvement, both at fixture levels, both at the league structure, into how many teams are supposed to be in a league, you see, and that's one of the challenges we've actually come across. You see, promotion, relegation. You see, how do we advise the chairman about promotion relegation with guided by the law, the rules and regulations of the game, you see, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm also the vice chairman for the technical committee. This is about training of coaches, interviewing coaches, etc. Yeah.
What is, in your view, and I'm going to ask you beyond the scope of the work you've been given within the committee, what is your view on what the Caretaker Committee should achieve by the time the term is over, which is not far, which is like, I think, less than 2 months?
Exactly, yeah. You know, we have a mandate, and the mandate is our KPI. You see, it's ensure that there's sports compliance and there's a new constitution in place. Yeah, that is our mandate. So within, we'll ensure at least we try and achieve all the mandate.
Is that the focus? Because I feel, from where I sit as a layman, that the focus seems to be on micromanaging what the FKF should be doing as opposed to what you're saying.
No, I mean, when you say, when I tell you is manage football affairs, it's not micromanaging. It's actually bringing clarity to football fans and football followers in the country. What is clarity? Clarity is, do all Kenyans or football fans understand the present structures? You see, Structures are very key in running football matters. So we want to ensure that the structures are in place. And what are the structures? How many numbers of teams do you have in a region or in a division, in a certain tier? You see, what is club licensing? Because what we came to discover is most of the clubs don't understand what is club licensing. So there's a gap of dealer education in terms of club licensing, in terms of compliance. Some clubs didn't know the meaning of compliance. The thing is, you got to have a soccer team, just runs, and you're okay. But as per the Sports Act 2013, compliance is a must when you're running a club, you see. And those are the things that we're trying to put in place. But of course, change is very difficult, and it's a very painful process. It needs a lot of patience, you see. And we keep on educating the stakeholders. Today, most of them have gone to the sports register, they're complying. That is one part. Second thing is governance. Because when there's a mandate and football matters, it's governance. You see, what level of governance, you see. And unfortunately, and I'll say it unfortunately, because sometimes you find that somebody is running a league, but themselves, they don't understand that league in itself, you see. And I don't blame them, because maybe there was a gap in training, you see. Maybe there's a gap in administration, you see. Maybe there's a gap in human resource. Maybe there's a gap in finance management. And maybe there's a gap in understanding the game itself. For example, if I pose a question back to you, how many proper structured youth team do you have in this country?
None.
None. But now let's go to the same FIFA status. What is the structure of youth? You have under 12, under 15, under 17, up to under 23, you see. And there's a reason behind that. When you have under 12, which will be attached to schools, the kid now learns how to, the philosophy of football. You see, what is our philosophy as a country? So they go under 12, is our philosophy 4-4-2, 4-3-2, you see. So they actually gradually grow into it. By the time they're in 17, they've done almost 50 to 60 matches. They are very ripe, both for the tier 1, which is KPL, both for scouts to come after them. But you find, look at our players. Who has gone at under 17 as a professional player? If you look at the database, vis-a-vis other African countries, you see. And these are the structures you are saying, can we put such structures in place where we can give opportunity to the growth of youth in soccer, you see. I'm looking at a situation whereby you have under 12 teams in 47 counties. Can you imagine how competitive that will be? Or under 15 or under 17, you see. And now it makes easier for any coach to pick a player, because they know there's an active under 12 leagues, you see, but there, which relates to the present CBC education, the new syllabus for education, you see, it actually correlates, and that's why we're trying to put this kind of structure. Then talk about employment.
I want to tackle, we'll get to employment, I want to tackle one by one at the moment, because you mentioned a lot of this sounds very well and good theoretically and on paper. Club licensing, it's an issue we've been discussing for the last 5 years. In fact, if I can quote I don't know what to call him, former chairman, removed chairman, Nick Wendwa, he told us a couple of years ago that if they were to follow club licensing to the letter, we would have about 2 or 3 or 4 clubs in the Premier League and none in any other league, simply because our clubs, I think from the setup, they're not set up to be a business. So they're unable to honor a lot of those requirements to be, because one of the things of club licensing, you must prove, I think, financially that you can go through the season, you must have a youth team, you must have I don't know if you must have a female team, but there are categories which on the ground, it's different. You've been Secretary General of Coast Stars. I'm sure you had financial issues. You couldn't afford to do a lot of the things you'd want to do. So theoretically, club licensing makes all the sense. Practically, is it possible? And what is the committee doing to make sure it's possible?
You know, I tend to agree with him. It's a process. Nick, what he said is true. It's a process. We'll have maybe 2 clubs, even maybe none, you see. But in this process, you have to have a business plan.
Yes.
You see, now this is our 59 years in football. You see, club licensing did not start yesterday. It's been there, you see. But the question is, the administrative in all the federation when they come, what is their main goal when they come in? What are the targets that they want to achieve, and say, for when I was in this office, this is what I achieved. So club licensing is not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's about dedication. It's about believing that this will happen. And look at our neighbors. Go to Tanzania today. They've achieved it. They've achieved it. And sponsors have actually, they are tracking sponsors. If you look at our fund database, you see, today, I'm sure and I believe, if our financial structures are in order with all the clubs, they'll be having their own stadiums. 50, some clubs are 60 or 70 years old, you see. And whether it's Caretaker or any admission that comes in, club licensing is something that we cannot run away from it. Now CAF is compelling. Any KPL clubs must have a women team.
What maybe not even what the committee is doing, what you personally. By the way, I know the answers to all these questions because in fact, just yesterday I was talking, somebody called me from Ushago and said, you know, we've been promoted to this league and we need 20,000 to honor this fixture. And I'm like, okay, you cannot be forming clubs and your business plan, and your plan is to beg for money every week to honor a fixture. Unfortunately, that's what's happening in Kenya.
It's true.
We form clubs for the right reasons, as in, I want to keep the youth, mostly for the right reasons. Politicians, I don't know. But it's mostly to keep the youth busy. There's so much talent. We want them to be engaged. But practically on the ground, we almost need a mind shift amongst corporate Kenya, because that is where money will come from. Corporate Kenya and fans, because corporate Kenya want fans. But they want their customers to make it worth their while in sponsoring. So it means for us to have a change, we almost need a government injection, financial injection into the sport.
Yeah, you know, first let's understand football into two segments. There's passion, there's commercial. The question we should ask ourselves, our club owners, do they understand the commercial aspect? Because if you bring a club owners and you actually ask them, do you understand brand partnership? Do you understand equipment partnership?
And it's true, a lot of them don't.
They don't. And I'm saying that's where the gap is. If today club owners understand what equity they can actually trade in terms of brand partnership, because I was talking to a few club owners and asked them, do you know your fan base? You see, I said, what do you mean? I said, do you know your fan base? You see, first we need to understand who are our fan base. If you're coming from Ushago, be it Migori, be it Lunga Lunga, be it Hispania, but who are these, if it's Hispania FC, who are these followers, fan base of Hispania FC? Now you have the numbers. Once you crunch the numbers and say, and this is my organogram, I have a chairman, maybe I have a board, or if depending on the club, I have an accountant, not even a finance officer. Then I have account admin, then this is my small room as an office, and these are my books. I'm running this club by myself, you see, but my fan base is X. So if you come and say you want to advertise in this territory, your visibility will be by this, you see. And all the ATL and the BTL, and now digitalized, because most clubs, everybody's on Facebook and everything, you see. So if you go with that business plan, and to that small water company in that village, they will know that they're getting visibility. So if you tell them, how much can you give me? Automatically there will be a relationship, traction on the commercial side, which equate to the passion side. Now that is what is missing.
You know, it's like you're eavesdropping on a conversation I had in December. You know, I went to Caretaker FC in Siaya to give them kit, courtesy of Betika, and they told me, I see, but why don't you get us sponsorship from Betika? Then I told them, what do you have to give them in return? Because they're not a charity. Businesses are not a charity. Then they said, Then I said, do you have fans? I said, yes, when we play here at the primary school, it's full. I said, do you have a database of your fans? Nothing. I told them I said, do you have a Facebook page? Nothing. We took photos, Nini. I told them, before I leave tomorrow, you must have a Facebook page. IG, all these fans who
Twitter,
come, register them. Don't charge them yet for the games because they don't have the money. Register them, keep their phone numbers, have them on a database. This is Siaya Town. Go from shop to shop, telling people, you know what, your nephew plays in our team. Come and watch him on Saturday, you know. And then look for sponsorship from local supermarkets, clubs, and industry, if any. And they didn't. They're like, oh, because don't look for the Coca-Colas, you know. Look local, but they don't get that. But what you need to do is also change perception as the Caretaker Committee.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we are trying to do. You know, And you know, when you're trying to change perception, and it takes time. It takes time for a perception to sink. Some countries, it takes like even 50 years for philosophy people to agree this is the way to go. And I'll give a very good example. Look at West Bromwich Albion. It's a small town, you see. But they build their brand on the lorry. But the passion, when you go to Albion, these people love their team. They will not move to any other team. And that's what UK has done. Yeah. You see, they have built their passion with, see, it's a community team.
Their local community.
With a local community, you see. For here, if you just take a fan base and say, okay, this is my fan base, I want all my fans, free of charge first, to register online. Or let them pay 1 shilling every month. If you have 1 million fans, that's 1 million shilling every month, you see. But the question is, the fans will ask, then where is the accountability part? Now that's another challenge that comes in. Because for me to give you my 1 shilling, I need to understand where it's going, you see. So from club licensing, it has a lot in it, the accounting part, you see, the compliance part. So funds need to be attracted by quality. Today, Simba and Yanga. Simba, I think, and Yanga, they get around $1.5 million a year from Azam. And all clubs, the 16 clubs in Tanzania, each get around 3.5 million. Why? Is because if you can recall the video of the guy who was crying and said, Ujuma, Ujuma, Ujuma. Now that is the passion we're talking about. The jersey, the passion, the commercial. When you look at the jersey, you will see the advert. So the brand already has actually acquired a scale and said, look, that's our brand. The video went, the guy didn't know that by him coming out with that passion, is actually advertised for a brand positively. Positively. So for a consumer, will say, Ujuma, but what is that? Oh, that is X brand. I'll go to buy X brand. And when you go to Islam, sometimes they say, give me this product. Yeah, Ujuma. It's related to the brand. That's what we need to have here. That's what is missing in Kenya. And it was there, if you remember the days of lining to go and watch a match from 10 o'clock. But those days, there was no commercial. Those days was passion. There was no commercial that time. That was just passion. We're going to football. Now, where the gap came in, now transforming that passion into commercial, it is where we are struggling up today in Kenya. That is our struggle. You see, we have very strong community clubs, and now they are scattered all over. Today, if you go to Kakamega, you have boys. They have a good following. You see, it's a derby.
They're top of the league right now.
Yeah, top of the league. Now we have also what we call the security derby, where you have Ulinzi and police, a new derby. You see, over and above now FC Leopards and Gor. So these derbies, if we have like 6 or 7 derbies, now imagine. You see, then now we commercialize. Because if I'm a sponsor, I want to come in, I want to see the visibility. And I remember I used to drive a Jazza study. You see, the reason when the sponsor will come in and see how this is Jazza study, but sponsors are running away. And the sponsors are coming in, what we call the betikas and the sports space and everything. Because for them, you don't need a Jazza study approach. For them, it's digital. You see. So the digital audience, they benefit from the digital audience. You see. And the focus should be now the physical audience in the stadium. And we can only nurture that. And the sponsor will be attracted by now investing in the youth. If you have a women's league game, how many school girls can attend? High schools, institutions. Do you give them tickets half, or is it for free initially? You see. But all that needs plan. As you're saying, it's good on books, on rhetoric and lip service, but to action it, you need a proper business plan and proper KPIs to each and every person who's supposed to actually activate all this.
I mentioned the issue of perception, and the perception is coming from the fact that a lot of corporates feel sport, and football in particular, is always fighting lack of transparency. I believe the CS, it was a good intention to have this caretaker committee. I don't agree in the manner in which it happened, which is why we now find ourselves banned. So all this, if I'm a corporate sitting in one of these big blue chip companies, I'm thinking, when is this fighting going to end? Who's going to be in charge? Then it's a political committee. We have elections this year. What happens in September? You know, as a corporate, I'll say, you know what, let me just put my money in adverts, in influencers, in musicians.
Yes, as a corporate.
And yet we know the value of sport.
Almost $1 billion annually. If you calculate $1 billion, that's the worth of football in Kenya. But you know, before you look at what is now, let's look at how did it started. Where did this cast came in? 59 years, 9 disbandment by the Football Association, 6 caretaker committees during the reign of 4 FIFA president, 4 Kenyan president, 2 courts and an unifying and disbandment for the Football Association, then 2 FIFA bans, 1 suspension, and 1 FIFA normalization committee. Do you know when it started? 1964, 64, 65. That's our first caretaker committee. We got it wrong from the beginning. And any time that a caretaker or a normalization...
Do you think we've got it wrong now?
We've gotten it wrong all the way. And I'll tell you why. And any time a committee... people need to understand what is the role of a caretaker committee. Is to come and put systems in place. But as you're putting systems in place, there's a lot of politics comes in. Why? People want to shadow behind it. They want to cover, no, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. You see. But if the caretaker committees, all of them were given ample time to do their job, they will see a change. You see. And there were committees by then that they did something that has changed. During the late Matiba, football was good. The late Gachanja, football was good. Peter Kenneth came in, football was good. Because before then, if you look, they were. You see.
We were doing well.
We were doing well.
Clubs were doing well.
And
fans were going to the
sponsors came
stadium.
in, we were doing well, and fans were in the stadium. You see. But now, when we mix politics and football, they don't go along. And I always say this: it is only the 2% that is killing the 98% of football. Who are the 98? The clubs and the players. You see.
The only people I care about.
Yes. Those are, and the same. I only care for the player because we've seen how many challenges our players have gone through. One example, you're running a club. The player is has been scouted to a foreign country. The other club wants to pay the transfer fee. You send the other club on the other side a personal account. This is the situation we are facing.
Yeah.
A personal account. The guy writes back to you and says, you know what? We can't pay to a personal account. We need a club account for their own reconciliation on the other side. So here, the player is frustrated. You see, but the official says, you're not moving until they pay me. And the scouting structures now also contribute. Some scouts are very genuine, you see. And players who don't know about contracts and everything, because they are coming from a desperate background, there's a challenge. If you're telling them, we are paying you $3,000 a month, that is 300K, and they're coming from 300 shillings. So they will sign anything in blind without asking. And yet, maybe the transfer fee is $100,000. Now that part of players' education is not there. So when you don't have proper administrative structure and you don't have governance, you see, you don't have accountability, this cycle will go on and on and on and on and on. And we need to pose the $1 million question. If I'm a football administrator, what is my end game? That is the hard questions Kenyans are not asking themselves. What is my end game? Is my end game to ensure that talent has grown to this level? You see, and as administrator, is my end game commercial, or is it commercial and passion? Or is it passion alone? Now those are the voids and the questions that we don't ask ourselves, you see. And you see, you have a blind following. You see, I should not follow Caro because she's Caro. I need to look at who is Caro, what is her intention, what is her roadmap, does she have a business plan and achievements? And each federation, everybody has achieved to a certain level. We cannot discount that. You see, we cannot discount that. But you're given a mark out of it. Out of 10, is it 2, is it 3, is it 4, and in what faculty? in all the subjects you're given, how much do you score? See? So the challenge we have in Kenyan football first are those 4 things: compliance, governance, structures, and administration. It has got nothing to do with the footballer. If you look at those challenges, there's that footballer, that young youth plays football.
Given, okay, just on the issue of not even following what whether the management has business plans, unfortunately that's how we run our national government. Nobody even elects people based on their promise, so on what they stand for. It's all about, I like so and so, and I'm going to follow. So unfortunately, we're just following a queue.
Yeah.
Nationally. Yesterday I was watching the news and I was like, surely the news can't only be Ruto said this, Raila said this, Uhuru said this, Kalonzo said this about each other, as opposed to what we stand for. So us as journalists, we're also misleading a lot of people by not focusing on what's important. But back to football, what is the committee doing to ensure these 4 arms are followed? And don't just tell me there must be compliance to club licensing. What are we doing with the club owners, with the current club owners, to show them or to help them along? Because clearly they've also missed the boat somewhere.
The question should be, what has the committee done?
Okay, what have they done?
What have we done? First, we did a research to understand the football sphere in this country. How does it look like?
It could have been 2 phone calls.
Yeah. Not 2 phone calls. And with proper, I'll give you, and I have a map here. You see, we understand like the KPL clubs, 18 clubs, you see, 12 of them out of Nairobi.
An issue we've always complained about for the last 10 years.
And if you look at this map, what does it show you? The concentration?
Just here.
Just
Nairobi, Central,
and what?
And
Mombasa.
Kisumu, and a little Mombasa.
A little bit in Mombasa, out of 47 counties. You see, the first question came, why? And I told guys, stop there. Let's go to the NSL. What do you see?
Almost the same thing.
Almost the same thing.
Yeah, but my problem with that, Ali, is we've been saying this for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So our government hasn't cared.
No.
If they cared, they'd be listening.
They do.
We've been talking about...
You know, first you gather data. Then
there was a season when, before we even had 18 teams, there were still 16 teams.
Yeah.
There were 12 from Nairobi.
First you gather the data. That's what we did. You see, then I say, okay, now we have all our information. What do? Let's meet the KPL clubs. The first achievement. So we should ask yourself, when is the last time the KPL clubs congregate in one place? Can you recall that? All the KPL clubs, the chairmen, they met at one place to discuss football matters, financial issues.
They used to meet often when there was KPL, which Nick removed. Or rather, their term expired.
That gap. So the KPL clubs, the first challenge the KPL clubs have is finance.
Which we've been discussing.
Finance. So we say, you have financial issues, we can actually ask government a token. You see, you get it, you reconcile, you get another one. Sometimes it comes in late, but it comes, a token.
This is the 300,000
per
club
300,000, yeah. When did that happen before? Rather than giving individual, but structured 18 clubs.
Is it sustainable?
No, we're not giving them for sustainability. You see, we are giving this token first to jumpstart them. Then as we're just jumpstarting them, we are educating them, but this is how it's supposed to be. You see, transparency. That now we're going to the governance. You see, this is an initiative to show trust and attract trust from the sponsors to the clubs. We are just creating a way so that the sponsors can start now. If the government trusts clubs, and a sponsor will end up trusting them. There are so many advantages to that. Now those are the achievements we're talking about. Then NSL. Then for the first time, gender equality. The WSL and the KPL clubs are paid equally. They are paid equally. Then we discovered...
So the women's clubs also got 300,000 a month?
Yeah. Then we discovered the women referee is paid less than the male referee.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's offensive.
All these are officiating people who within there are 90 minutes like everybody else. We actually made sure there's equal payment.
But my concern, Ali, I agree that is a good move. But for me, that's giving me fish. That's not really teaching me to fish. And I say that because I know you said you want to see how they're accountable back and all that stuff. But my concern with that is you're working with 18 clubs when we should be working working towards a football industry.
Yeah, but I'd not finished talking.
Because
I just started the KPL. I'm giving you on a segmented what I've done with KPL, NSL. I'm coming all the way down, you see. And now you'll actually be fishing very well. First, gender equality, talking for the clubs, you see. Because these are the immediate things that you could fix. These are an achievement that people never saw them, or that they saw them and ignore. So we said, let's first demonstrate of gender equality. Let's demonstrate of ensuring every club has a certain token, just within our mandate, as to prepare them. But the message is, we are showing sponsors that we trust you, so that the sponsors can be attracted. Said, if the government trusts you, we should also trust you. Then we came to Division 1, had the same talk. Then now we went down. We actually went into regions, meeting clubs, just to listen to them and understand. Something that's never been done before. What are your issues? What are your challenges? Then we look at the lower clubs and said, you're paying affiliation fee, but let us give you a relief on the affiliation fee. Let's give you a relief on the cards and a relief on the referees. That's a relief for clubs. And why? It's after doing numbers. Today, maybe you didn't know some clubs travel almost 45,000 kilometers. And
I
they're
was
Division
hearing
2.
that the other day.
Yes, imagine. And a Division 2 club is not supposed to travel all those kilometers. You see, and it's as per FIFA. If you look at the fatigue of the player, ETC and all that, there's a certain level that the player can be pushed. There's a certain level you cannot push the player, because then performance deteriorates. And we have situations whereby leagues are not finished, completed on fair play. Because if I've traveled 800 kilometers or 400 kilometers for a match, you see, and maybe I've won, but that guy on 400 kilometers looking at the league table and say, why should I travel? Because after all, I won't be promoted. So it kills that competitive part. You see. Now those are the things that we're pulling out and say, here we need to restructure. And it will be one of our recommendations. Here we need to restructure and say, you know, a certain tier of a league, the team is not supposed to travel X number of kilometers.
I want to take a short break, Ali. I want to take a short break. What I want to come and discuss is the sustainability of the achievements you're talking about.
Yeah.
So we take a short break. I hope you are learning something from this discussion. We'll see you in about 30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
Chief, chapia riba ingine.
Si mnanijua. Nilikuwa date na msupa na mabeste zake. Ghafla binvu, mamoro fulani wakatuchafia meza na dishi ya bure. Nikauliza, mbona siangukiangi vitu za bwerere? Msupa akanisho, ukidai za bwerere, lazima udownload Betika app. Besti yake akadai, ukidownload na ucheze na Betika app, unapata free bets. Ngoja kwanza. Free bet.
Oya, kwani utaambiwa mara ngapi?
Kabisa! Ukibetika unapata more.
History imeletwa kwako na Betika, the official sponsors of happiness. Gambling can be addictive. Play responsibly. Not for persons under 18 years of age. This advert is authorized and regulated by the Betting Control and Licensing Board. License number BK281. Betika, jukwaa la mabingwa.
Welcome back. This is Radull Live. Thanks for staying with us. We're having an interesting discussion here with Ali Amour, Chairman, Leagues and Clubs Competitions Committee. You said Vice Chairman of Technical Committee as well, of the FKF Caretaker Committee.
Yeah.
That's a title. He's in the Caretaker Committee and he's working. So Ali, before the break, you were telling me about some of the achievements that have been made so far. And yes, clubs have received money they were not getting. But is this sustainable? That's my concern.
You know, sustainability is for the new office to come in and see what is the best practice we introduce. Yeah, it's for them to sustain. And it's not only for the new office to come in and see that, and whoever's coming in, but it's also for the clubs to learn out of this period of caretaker committee, what can we take home and ensure that it's sustainable, you see. And I'll go back to a bit of club licensing. First is to ensure that who is your fan base, you see, who is your co-sponsor, what attraction are you bringing back on the table for the sponsor, because the sponsor wants to see what's your following. Now, those are the sustainability that we actually...
For me, my concern is that's going to take time. For clubs to organize themselves, organize their fan base, you can't just come and say, you're my neighbor, from now on come for my games or pay this, pay that. It's going to take time, whether it's recruitment, whether it's enticing them with something.
To me, it won't take time. I mean, if after this show, if a club can say, now we have a digital office, 2 people, start your digital recruitment fund based online. You see, first you build your numbers. It doesn't take 10 days or 20 to build numbers, just to show a certain number. I'll give you an example.
Ali!
I'll give you an example. A practical example. We have team in Nairobi today who have followings. Do you know they have good followings? They have their fan base. They're not being KPL. And they are selling their brands. They are selling their brands and they are making money out of it. And people think selling of merchandise, it's a t-shirt. No, it starts with your baby, the napkin, the school bag, the pen. You see, you go around everybody with an Arsenal t-shirt and a Man U t-shirt. But if you start converting people and associate them with your brand, from where you're coming from, it's easy.
Yeah, but it's not easy.
It is.
Ali, it's not easy.
It is. It is. It is. What am I saying? Look at Mtibwa. Mtibwa Sugar in Tanzania. People don't know about it, but today go. They have hearts written in Mtibwa, bags in Mtibwa.
You know, it's
a team that's...
You can't even compare Kenya and Tanzania, because Kenya, we have a perception issue. We almost have an identity crisis in Kenya, where we are almost not even proud to associate with our own. Tanzanians naturally have that pride. That's why their football is adored. We actually don't adore our football. I'll even take you back, Ali, to, I think it was January 2008, when I called you and told you, can we go and watch a game at Nyayo Stadium? Because I cannot find someone to go with. I had called all my friends who are football fans, and they were like, are you crazy about going to Nyayo? And you came because you already had that local football association. So changing the perception of Kenyans to say, you know what, it's not only about Arsenal, it's about Tusker and Sony. I think we watched Tusker, Sony, I can't remember the game. It's not that easy to convert people's perception of loving their own to love their own sport. Kenyans watch Harambee Stars. The minute they lose, I wish you can go to my Facebook page when they lose. Let's give up on this team. Let's focus on athletics. We don't love ourselves.
I'll differ with you. We have living example. We have fans that have built their own brand name because of their team. Look at the number 1 fan.
Don't tell me Jaro Soldier. Don't leave Goran AFC out of this. No, I'm
coming, and I'll give you a lot of Jar soldiers in this town and in this country. 20 years ago, 30, people didn't know him. But passion and dedication made him a brand today. Nobody came and gave him a business plan. Nobody can say, if you do this, this is going to happen. No.
Yeah, but how many
passion.
Jaro soldiers
No,
are there?
There are many. There are many. It's only that the media is focusing on him, which is good. He has created a brand. There are many. They let Juma. May soul rest in peace. They let Juma. The same thing. We didn't know about him. He came in passion, building. And I'll tell you today.
Those are few.
Have you?
Those are
No,
few.
those are few. That's what I'm telling you. Now, those fews, there are others. I remember in Sony, some time back, they had a brand champion.
I know they had. Even
They had.
Sofapaka had, I think he was
So
called
Papa
Frank.
had. Yes.
Guy who painted himself
They have all
blue.
these people. They have been there. Not because they've been there. Today in Bayern Munich, you see, there is a guy, the second Kaiser. He comes in, he has badges all over him, and people know him. These are a die-hard fan. Kisumu, I remember, Kisumu United, Kisumu All Stars, they had. Shabana, they had.
But how
All
do you
these people
create?
Now, I'm saying the gap, and you're coming here to sustainability. If clubs and fans, you know, for me to be attracted into a club, you see, I have to see the vision of that club. You see, in a corporate world, you say mission, vision, etc. I have to see the vision of that club. You see. But remember, the club will also do very well. But where is the visibility for the growth of the club in terms of the federation administration, in terms of that support? You see. Look at the UK structure. The leagues is owned by almost 5 stakeholders. The clubs, the referees are stakeholders, the media are stakeholders. You see. And the funds. And people can see this money comes in, it goes here, it does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why they build. But remember also, there's a time the English league was not very popular. We were more on the Italian league, if you remember.
Italy, Germany.
Yeah, Germany, you see. Football made in Germany, then the Italian league came in, then the English, then the Spanish league came after. But these people went back to the drawing board and said, what can we do? But for us, it's 59 years. We're still asking ourselves, what can we do? We focus more on politics. Who is who? What has he done? No, don't do this, don't do that. But at that time, there's a huge gap of talent getting wasted.
Where are we now with the Caretaker Committee? Because
we're in a very good place, by the way.
with the 2 months or so left,
Yeah.
which I'm assuming, I don't know whether the mandate will be extended or not. When the day you leave office, what are you hoping to leave?
As I said, first, running leagues, we took from scratches. There was no handover, anything. What you're seeing, we took from scratches. These are the leagues. How do we run them? What are the rules of the game? What are the rules as per the FKF constitution? How can we go about it? What are the new things? And something new that is coming.
Was running the leagues a priority? Because the leagues were running.
It was. The leagues were collapsing. They were not running per se. It was a priority because imagine you just come in and you say, okay, I'm not touching the leagues. There would have been a vacuum.
Yeah, but the reason you had to do that is
Yeah.
because the whole of FKF was disbanded, which I
Yeah.
didn't think was necessary. I think the bad apples could have been removed and FKF remains as a secretariat under the governorship of what should have been a normalization committee approved by FIFA, which means the leagues could have still run by FKF, but we have a political problem here where I want to take charge of everything. I don't think the Caretaker Committee should be managing the leagues. I think they should be creating.
You know, Carol, when you say that, you actually, sorry to say, but you're very wrong because leagues and clubs competition committee is run by the NEC, which now is the Caretaker Committee.
Which is illegally in office according to FIFA.
You see, that is according to FIFA, but FIFA...
We can't operate without.
And I need to make that correction. And I'll give you 4 countries. Egypt, presently, look at its history, what happened. Senegal went through the same thing. Ivory Coast, same thing. Togo, I think, went the same thing. This is always the biggest challenge we have. Not a mistake, a challenge of not understanding the proper FIFA statutes the federation, and the government. Always. And it is coming and coming and coming all the time. When you say it's FIFA, it's FIFA. FIFA wants to see development of football. FIFA has a youth structure. Do we have one? And that is FIFA. We don't.
The reason I say that, Ali,
FIFA,
and let me also correct you, these countries you've mentioned had normalization committees.
After.
This is a caretaker committee.
Yes, after.
A normalization committee is created by FIFA and the government.
Yeah.
We have a committee created by the government alone.
You know, you will not get a normalization committee until the government comes in, cite the crisis and the issue at hand.
Discusses with FIFA and agrees on creating a normalization committee.
We've been here before, and I've read it for you. This won't be the first normalization caretaker committee or the first normalization committee in this country. The question is, where is the cancer? That's the question we ask.
Where is the cancer? And what makes this committee different to the,
you see, where is the cancer?
I don't know, 5, 6 we've had before?
Why were we here today again? 58 years. Why are we here again? Is it a repeat of the same thing? Why are we here? And why again we'll go and say FIFA? FIFA has its status. But Kenya has a law. It's governed by its own law, a sovereignty.
Fair and good,
so
but we run leagues with teams winning
FIFA
and not playing
pro-compliance.
continental football because we've been banned.
No, FIFA is pro-compliance. So is Kenya.
Yes.
So are we compliant? When you ask for accountability, you're not antagonizing anybody. You're only saying, you know what, this is what I want to see. That's compliance.
Which I'm in agreement with,
Yeah.
that you cannot let a corrupt organization continue to operate, and you're seeing your youth going to waste because they're being mismanaged by the federation. But any steps taken to correct that should also be legal. And should be legal within. We can't operate without FIFA. Yes, we're a government with our own sovereignty, our own laws, and we have to take
let's go to institutional memory.
Growth
here.
of sport in our country into our own hands.
Let's go to institutional memory. Guinea flew in to play against Kenya. The day they flew in, the following day there was a FIFA ban. They flew into the country. The following day there was a FIFA ban. Let's ask yourself, why the FIFA ban? What led to the FIFA ban? I'll give you another example again. FIFA officials flew in. There were 2 elections. One in Kasarani, the other one in Malindi. Do you know how many delegates were in Malindi? How many delegates were in Kasarani? Now, if you go to history and look at the numbers, I said, who is leading us to this again and again? Is it the government? No. The government is just a supervisory. Here is your federation. Run it according to your own constitution. But when you have 2 elections, and FIFA comes and say, we agree. So they agree to one. When they agree to one, what happens? Then, after that, the same disagreement people took FIFA to court. The same disagreement, people disagree. They took FIFA to court. Now here is a federation. The same federation takes FIFA to court. You know me, I look at history. I look at history as a reference to what is happening. Here I'm seeing history almost repeating itself. And that's now which will cause an issue of sustainability. As long as we are fighting, there's something that we are killing, sports tourism. I'm a tourist, I flew in, I've gone to Masai Mara or wherever, then I know about Goran FC, there's a derby. But when I see these issues, it won't attract me. Some people don't go to Barcelona for football. They go into other things and they see there's football and they go in. So sports has become a very good tourist attraction. As we've killed that, and what people managing football, they don't know is the damage of sports economy, especially football economy in our country. The damage is costing us. It's costing our national identity because people look at saying, you're banned. To ban, you're not banning an Amour or a CS, or you're banning a country. So patriotism is diluted. The question is, how are we going to fix it? This has been a cycle.
How are we going to fix it?
No, fix it is, I tell you, we need to agree about governance. We need to agree about accountability. We need to agree about compliance. We need to agree about administration.
When you're saying we, this is who?
We, Kenyans, fans, football fans, players like ex-players like us.
I'm talking now to get out of this FIFA ban. What needs to happen, in your view?
The 4 things. compliance in place. That is key, and we cannot run away from it. You see what cricket has done. We need to emulate. They went for elections, they're compliant and everything. You see, and cricket was a good game during the Odumbes days, you remember. You see, but who is killing the sports? Is it the player? Is it the owner? Or is it the administrator?
Cricket is even worse than football.
No, I'm saying.
Let's not use it as a reference.
No, I'm using it as a reference because they went through that. I mean, I'm just using it because, you know, compliance, accountability, governance, and structures. Carol, we don't have structures. It's painful. And I tell you how painful it is. I've seen some very, very good footballers. They have no option. They're only telling you, if you buy from me a border, something will come up. And that talent is gone. And because we need to look at numbers that we are losing in our youth in terms of their talent. Unless when you see the numbers in percentages per every county, then you see how
I know them, I see
the
them.
Numbers.
I talk to
the
them.
Numbers. And those numbers is what is our cry. That talent. Do you know what is the population of Senegal? 16 million? What population of Kenya?
Yeah.
I'll tell you now something. Look at the professional players in Gambia against the number of professional players in Kenya. Gambia is hardly 1 million.
Yeah.
But how come they have more professional players than us? You see, very simple example. Ivory Coast is not bigger than us in population. We're almost...
All these countries were shining just the other day. Even Comoros.
Yes. But what I'm saying is, if you're a football administrator, the first thing you should look at is, what am I giving back? Am I here for myself, or am I here for?
I still want to know what the committee is leaving us with. Do we have elections? What's happening? Because in 2 months, you guys, I'm assuming, will go home.
Yes.
And then?
Yeah, I mean...
are you hoping for the ban to be lifted before then? Is that the plan?
Of course, we are very positive and about the ban to be lifted. We all want our players to go abroad. We all our national teams.
Has FIFA given you... Are you talking?
Of course, FIFA is talking. FIFA does not keep quiet to members because they suspend them. They talk. You see.
And progress?
Yes, they talk, and progress is people discuss. You see, and everybody has their own stand. They say, this is our stand. You see, and that is your stand. How do we come together and meet across the bridge? It's been happening before, it has happened before, and it will still happen again. You see, but what is the committee leaving behind? Fine. We are saying compliance. That we will leave it behind.
Don't say we're saying compliance.
Yes.
We're saying compliance.
Compliance is, I'll tell you what is compliance.
7 years.
No, here.
10 years.
Today, and I mean, I love numbers. If you go to the sports registrar and see 2 years ago, how many clubs are compliant? 3 years ago, 5, 10, 20. And today, how many clubs are compliant? Soon you'll see that report. That is a major achievement. Because clubs have realized, if I'm compliant, then I'm talking about transparency. I'm attracting a sponsor, be it a multinational or that local sponsor. So that is a major step, a major achievement that we are going to actually to achieve as this caretaker committee. And then I'll always take my flag high and say, you know what, at least clubs have understood what is sports compliant all about. Down there, and it's still clubs are coming to comply. So that tomorrow, if you're talking to sponsors, or anybody said, if you look at our compliant base, it is this. The map should look blue all over, or red all over. You see, I said, against these colors, which are compliant, and also we are telling clubs this, the deadline does not mean you're not supposed to comply. Even after the deadline, keep on complying. Just go ahead, take the form, fill in. It's a process. So that's a big achievement. The other achievement that you're ignoring is the gender equality, the token. Those are what you call...
those will come. We need to get the basics right.
Yes.
Those will come, I trust.
Yeah.
In terms of government, because it's easier said than done that I'm now a compliant club, I can walk into a corporate and get sponsorship. Corporates still are not... They don't yet see the value of sport as a marketing tool, if I can call it that. which is why we have companies that prefer, like the Coca-Colas, the Safaricoms, to have their own tournaments as opposed to sponsoring leagues. Sorry, let me just finish. We have a sports fund. We have counties with sports budgets.
Yeah.
And we've seen what's happened in a county like, say, Vihiga,
Yeah.
which have decided, you know what, we're actually going to sponsor Vihiga United and Vihiga Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen the success of Vihiga just from that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one Vihiga threw the other Vihiga Bullets threw Vihiga United out of the league. But it's something that Vihiga County decided consciously to do. Kisumu County, the same, but on paper, because that's another long story that we'll discuss offline. But for me, if I was sitting in government and I really want to make the change, I would tell county governments to take the lead. There's no corporate going to say, I'm going to sponsor. You want football all over the country, including in Northeastern, and big companies are not going to go because of the population of those areas. The counties are the ones who are going to need to step up, show people this can be done, and then the corporates take over.
Carol, I want you to repeat that because I think it's good for the viewers to know about the county government taking over the league. And you've actually mentioned Vihiga, you see. And I'll mention another team, SS Assad. Kwale County has given them a field.
Which is good.
Yes.
And those counties that are stepping up,
Yes,
well done.
they are stepping up, you see. And that's the reason I say, if we go down at the bottom of the basics, for a county to come in, the county wants to see, are you structured? Because if I'm MCA, I have this budget for sports and I give you a federation official, you see, I need to account for it. But I cannot account for it when you don't have an office.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, because your term is ending, Ali,
Yeah.
and I don't think you'll be able to achieve what you intend to achieve.
Yeah.
You said it yourself, these committees are never given enough time. Hand this over to the county, which already has people working within it, who can say, you know what, I will give you 10,000 shillings. I want this accounted for before I give you another 10. And it will be for ABCD. Show me your budget. I want to see your receipts. I want to hold you accountable. So I'm just saying, give the clubs a helping hand, because they're not going to learn overnight, not with the 2 months that are remaining. And I think you said you met KPL and NSL. There's Division 1, there's Division 2. There are regional leagues. I spoke to a friend of mine the other day who said we're in a regional league. We've been completely forgotten by this caretaker committee.
No, we have not. We met KPL, NSL, WSL, Division 1, and even Division 2. We've met them. We traveled in the country.
Division 2, anyway. That
Okay.
one you cancelled, then you uncancelled.
No, it's not about cancel and cancel. And you know, let's talk about the facts. Central Zone, how many clubs? 56 clubs, I don't know, 54 clubs. Do you know how many clubs are total in Division 2? If you look at the number, sometimes I call it the impossible league. If you look at the travels, if you look at the...
This is what I'm saying. We only have about less than 10 minutes left. Yeah? This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You probably should also be speaking to the sports officers or the sports ministers in the counties, so that the committee doesn't end its term in vain. And we say, you know what, there was a committee for 6 months. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough time. And
I'm sure I will not preempt on our report on the recommendations that are coming in place, because when you cannot achieve, you actually give recommendations, you see, and also leave a roadmap, you see. And one of the key roadmap that you're going to see, this, and I'll mention it today, is a digitalized roadmap all the way down, whereby you'll have data for each and every coach per county, each and every team per county, the referees spread per county, what is the level, and that is the database we want to leave. And that's a huge, you see, that is only one of the things that we are going to leave as we are going, as part of our action plan. Yes, you're talking about sports devolved function. It's not supposed to be that way. That's what I'm talking about, the sports compliance. It has to be that way. Sports has to be devolved, whereby the sports officer understand, in my county, I have this X number of teams. These are the leagues. Then it goes up. For us, we want to build from down. And that is what and you'll see that in our recommendations, you see, which I don't want to preempt here here today. You'll see those kind of recommendations. How do we digitalize the entire process so that it doesn't become a headache for people to have analog reports running there? No. You see, you go to a county, even in the website, you'll see on the sports side, football, Number of clubs, number of coaches, number of referees, you see. And what is your plan if you want to have pets? What is your plan for pet? How many coaches? We want to see a coach coming from Turkana. And the other day I was telling someone, I think it was on Citizen, I said, do you know their counties who have never watched or even by dream see a KPL derby or a KPL team? And those are 70% or 80% of the counties. Does it mean there's no talent there? There is talent. What is missing? Structures. And those are the recommendations, structures, you see. And they are very good players. Then the other thing that we tend to ignore, because most of the thing is administration, they were players' welfare, which is my passion. My passion is the players' welfare. You see, from the legends, all of the present player, we have players that medical care is a challenge. We have players that some of them have lost eyesight. Nobody even knows about them today. What is the players' welfare? And that is the basic, that is the bone of contention. How do we take care of our players? Because it is players who have built clubs, it is players who have built federations and everything. You see, today you see legends going around. You see, we're talking to them and said, hey, clinics from every club. We have very good legion players. We want to see legions as brand ambassadors, where they can go to school and talk about sports discipline on football. You see, why this is the only appreciation we can return to them, because most of them are who plays for national teams. You see, if we give you numbers of how much allowances federation owes the national team, and people are not talking about it, that players' welfare. The other thing I'll tell you this, and with my caretaker committee mate and Bobby and Shedu, I always laugh with them. I remind them of what happened to them in Ivory Coast, where they had to sleep in someone's house with mattresses down. You see, and it's because that administration, this kind of administration is not what we want to raise. We need to have a proper national team, a proper under-23, a 17, a 15, a 12, and from all counties. So that if it's a coach who is a national coach for under-15, he knows where to go immediately. Here is, under-15 is yours. You are the coach. Then when it fails, the coach is not good, the team is not playing good. It's not about the team. It's about how do you build this team? What do you give them? I mean, how do you equip them for them to perform? So that player welfare is key. And can you imagine, every time we go into this, the player welfare is not a topic at all. It's not a topic at all.
There's a lot. There's a lot which I don't think we can finish in this show.
Oh, yes.
But we have to continue with this.
Exactly. There's a lot. And a lot.
So when elections are called, which post are you going for?
Very good question. First and foremost, I mean, I'm not here for any elective post. I'm here for passion. You see.
You sound like such a politician.
No,
then
I'm not here for...
stand up and say, now the people want me to...
No, I'm not. You see, I'm not campaigning. I'm not here for any elective post, Carol. It's not that I came...
and you're not campaigning for anyone else?
I'm not campaigning for anyone else. You don't see any banner with me and everything. Compliance does not say campaign. Structure is not campaign. Accountability is not campaign. Governance is not campaign. You see, for me, I'm here to say, I want to see that youth should not go through the same experience that most of us went through in football. You see? I've had you, Ali. I mean, I wish you guys used to watch Radull live, because from here we've interviewed people in Division 1, Division 2, teams from Nyeri, teams from... Yeah. We went to Jambini, regional teams. Yeah.
Their issues are similar. The research and data you said you've been doing, their issues, they've sat here, and the issues are similar. I'm sure when you talk to clubs, the issues are similar.
Yeah, exactly.
So I could have saved you a lot of time, but I guess you need the data, you need the numbers, you need all that stuff. I think theoretically, everyone who loves football in this country, including members of your committee, want the same things.
Yeah.
I hope they can be implemented, because I see the challenge in implementation. I see a big challenge in implementation. I see a big challenge in changing perception of corporates, because eventually counties, well and good, cannot run forever. It's not just football. There are dozens of sports that will be calling on the same county government for support. But I wish corporates could see that I would rather have a football player on a billboard selling my product than a model or somebody who just looks pretty, you know, something like that. So I think we're all on the same page. And I don't know if I have any more faith in the committee than I did when you walked in, but at least I've heard what you had to say.
Yeah, you know, Carol, having faith or no faith, it depends on your level of pragmatism when you look at the committee. I've told you we've achieved compliance. Nobody else has done that. We've shown clubs that if you want to grow, this is the roadmap.
That's not achieving compliance. That's showing them what they need to do to be compliant.
Yes, but
achieving is now the club saying, you know what, now we are compliant.
Yeah, and we're coming to that. And you'll see soon the numbers, and I'm challenging you this. Go to the sports registrar. I said, 10 years ago, how many clubs are compliant? 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 4 months ago. Look at the numbers. That's again, in capital letters, that's a huge achievement. Some of them really says, you know what? Wow, now we know. We didn't know, but now we know. That's an achievement. It's not an achievement that you can sweep under the carpet.
Now we know,
yes.
But can I do it?
No, they're doing it. It's not difficult. It's not, by the way they are doing it.
How are they getting their money? Because for me, that is the challenge.
No, see, we have almost three kinds of clubs.
Everything takes money.
Yeah, everything. We have clubs which are self-sponsored by an individual at that level, that this is my club, I'll give money.
Kakamega Homeboys.
You see, but the person knows, yes, I'm sponsoring. I'm the chairman. I need an accountant. I need an admin. 3 people, chairman, treasurer, and secretary. That is compliance. 3 people only. Who is the chairman of the club? Who is the treasurer?
That's compliance in terms of the 3 officials.
Yeah, 3 officials. Then they're allowed to open an account, an operating account. So this is an individual, you see, already they're compliant, they want to open an operating account. Then, now that club is already compliant now. That is compliance. It's not rocket science, I will say it again. You see.
What about the clauses that say you have to show on paper that you can?
No. Everything.
Honor fixtures for the next season, because that's another thing. You have your office, and then halfway through the season,
you see, honoring fixtures now, we're talking about structures. You see, and in amateur football, if you're developing, you just need to have a contract, and even tell the player, I'm not able to pay a salary, but I can pay for the fare of this. You see, because we know there are people who are amateurs, there are people who are running clubs out of passion. They don't have money to pay salaries. We have almost 90% of African amateur football.
So in your mind, compliance still means players don't get paid?
Carol, I'll give a very good example. If you're a club...
We're out of time, but yeah.
If you're a club operating, let's say in Msambweni, from that ward, and you're a student, and the guy who's running that club is just a shop owner who have passion in football, first there's a first achievement. You see, ensuring that the youth are engaged in a sports activity, which kills all other negative activities, crime rate and everything. Second thing, health is wellness. If they're making
a living.
Yeah, if they're making, and most of them coming from their parents. Because you look at the age group also that we don't want to mention. You're 16. You're not a professional footballer. You're an amateur footballer growing. You've been given what those club owners, and I really, really support them on, they're creating platform for that player to have hope of growth. You see, to have hope of growth, that one day I'll be seen, or one day I'll grow a career to this level.
But then that means we're still not looking at football as a business, because the number of players who are going to make it big and maybe be a Wanyama or whatever is 0.1%.
No, it's not.
Which means we still have
if we put our
players
database
who need side hustles to make ends meet. We're never going to end this conversation. I mean, by the way, my end goal, I want to see players get paid. I want to see football being their job.
Yeah, for the commercial part, yes, I totally agree. We want to see, even more like to see every player, everybody kicking a ball to be paid. That's the end game. That's what I would like to see, you see. But you know, we have different tiers. We have professional, semi-professional, we have amateurs, and we have the youth, you see. So, and that's why I keep on repeating the word structure. When we want to put structure and accountability, it attracts a sponsor in wherever village you're coming from, you see. But if I'm a sponsor, do you want me to give you cash or M-Pesa and everything? I need to put that money in your account. so that I also account it on the other side. That's what we are trying to teach clubs.
I acknowledge the progress.
Thank you.
It's a long way, but we're still a long way from getting to where I want to get to in my head and in my heart for Kenyan football.
For me, to all football fans and club owners and all the administration, football administrators and federation, whoever, county association, let's be patriotic about this game. If we work as a team, we'll pull through. But if we put politics in football, that is the injection of killing the youth and the talent in this country. But if we put that aside and said, this is our goal, this is what we achieve, we will grow. Senegal went through a very, very hard time, but they believed in a coach. Alice, he said, for 7-8 years, all those painful moments, but they believed in him, and today they've achieved it. I'm sure if we take the same route and we actually get away from partisanism, predilection, and said, we are building our youth, and that youth is mine, yours, and everybody else. So let's focus on that. Let's build it as a team, because eventually we are all Kenyans.
Ali Amour, from, what's your title again? I had to write it down. Chairman, Leagues and Clubs Committee.
Competition Committee.
Competition Committee,
yeah,
of the FKF Caretaker Committee.
Exactly.
I wish you guys the best, Ali. I mean, keep in touch and let me know how I can help, if I can.
Positive vibes.
I understand I'm persona non grata, but...
No.
Thank you for coming, Ali, anyway.
Thank
you for coming.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll continue this conversation offline.
Yeah.
I know we talk a lot about football, and that's not going to end today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And thank you guys for watching Radull Live. Sorry, we went over, but yeah. I hope you learned a thing or two, and let's keep our fingers crossed, and let's remain patriotic. See you next week again on Radull Live.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Carol.